cannot hear me. I have the loudest voice on the planet and you cannot hear me. Let's try again. That's not what my troops told me. Okay, we'll try this once again. The aircraft touched land at the northeast point of the island in what's called Kahuku, out by the Polynesian Cultural Center. But instead of coming over the mountains to attack Pearl Harbor, it was in the design of their plan to take the North Shore route all the way around, turning inland at Haleiwa. From there they passed the Thorn Plantation, 183 aircraft using the Waianae mountain range behind you as a camouflage, flying just below it. I'll repeat that for you in a minute. I know, dear, it's okay. I'm sure glad I have you guys on today because you have the patience of Job. You're fantastic. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, those 183 aircraft utilizing the mountain range flew just below it as a camouflage, hoping to approach Pearl Harbor in complete secret. Now along this side of there, the reason they came along this side was their primary objective was to take out our #1 warships. The Japanese saw the #1 warship as being the aircraft carrier, followed by the battleship. Knowing that the aircraft carriers were on this side, they intended to have their attack focus primarily on those carriers, swing out, and then attack the battleships, which literally were secondary to them. As I had mentioned, however, our battleships were out. Unfortunately, there were other ships that had tied up and taken their places while the carriers were gone. Of these, the largest ship had been downgraded to a training vessel and target ship. To protect her from the 5-inch shells that the other battleships would fire at her, they staged wooden beams across her forward bow. As a pilot coming in from the mountains, you see this ship larger than all the others in that row, with the wooden beams going across its forward bow, giving you the impression of a flight deck. So the first ship that was attacked, the first ship that was sunk, was the USS Utah. Unfortunately, 58 of her crew went down, and to this day, ladies and gentlemen, 54 plus 1 remain aboard the USS Utah. The Utah is one of 2 ships here at Pearl Harbor where the internment service that I mentioned earlier does take place. In fact, one of her survivors that had recently passed away will be interred this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, from this first buoy on your right-hand side with the blue stripe, all the way along to the second buoy, well beyond it, marks the forward bow and stern of the USS Utah. As I mentioned, she was not only the first ship that was hit and sunk that morning, but as like the Arizona, she remains where she fell. Sadly, the USS Utah Memorial sits on a portion of Ford Island that is unavailable to the general public. You must be current military, retired military, or military sponsored to have access to this portion of Ford Island. As we turn, making our way back around, some of you may recall that I had mentioned 54 plus 1. The plus 1 deserves some attention. So if you'll bear with me, I'll try to go ahead and explain the plus 1. Back in 1937, a Navy chief and his wife, stationed in the Philippines, had twin daughters. Unfortunately, one of those daughters passed. They had her cremated, her ashes placed in an urn, and it was the chief's wish that during a ceremony at sea, he would be able to scatter his baby daughter's ashes out to sea. That, once again, was in 1937. For 4 years, that Navy chief, awaiting a chaplain to come aboard one of the ships he was assigned, never had the opportunity of having that service done. On December 7, 1941, as I mentioned, the USS Utah was the first ship that was hit and went down. The Navy chief was one of the survivors that was able to get out of the ship. Unfortunately, the urn holding the ashes to his daughter, baby Nancy, remains aboard ship to this day with the 54 individuals that were never removed. USS Maryland was badly damaged. USS West Virginia had gone down. USS Tennessee was very badly damaged. USS Arizona had gone down. The only one of our battleships battleships that was able to get underway was the USS Nevada. Heroically, she had a head of steam pulled out from her motor. Pulled out from her mooring quay and valiantly tried to get out to the open sea. Get out to the open sea where she would have better